Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's been a minute, but the Mad Hatter has returned, so have no fear. Now, I do want to talk about a study. It's a study, and it's a bunch of articles that have caught my attention recently. And I don't want to do too many of these things because I kind of feel like it adds to the growing gap and the growing distrust between men and women. But I will bring this up. So there's a study that they had about a injection form of birth control for men that they're attempting to bring to the market. Now the arguments in this study. Well, before I even get into that, let me explain a little bit what happened. Uh, Men dropped out of the study because there were adverse side effects, but so they had to end the study. That's basically what happened. So a lot of media was spinning it, especially progressive, female-dominated types of media like the Huffington Post are going out there and saying that men are basically pussies because they can't deal with the side effects that women can and that women are dealing with when it comes to birth control. But then once that argument was disproven, and I'll explain why in a minute, once that argument was disproven, women said, oh, well, that just means that, now the study is sexist and the science community is sexist because this means that they care more about men and how they feel when it comes to side effects, but not women. So first off, this would mean that scientists are more biased toward men, which is not the case because they're scientists, they're objective, they look for the truth and they look for the facts. However, you can make the argument that governments are more biased toward men because, especially in America, there's a lot of legislation that's put that doesn't give women, there's a lot of legislation that's put out there that doesn't give women the right to choose what they want to do with their bodies, and a lot of governments around the world. So we can make that case, but in the medical community, is not sexist. I mean, it might be more dominated by men because men are geared towards science, but still, there's a lot of female scientists that don't think that what people have been saying, especially in the media, about men being pussies is correct or the right way to move forward. And also, believing this is to, believe that there's a conspiracy against women in the medical community, of this nefarious plot, which is, again, not saying that there isn't, but you need more evidence than to just go out there and say there's a conspiracy. Now, again, this was an injection type of birth control for men that they were using in this clinical study, and men were experiencing muscle pain and infertility for over a year. Now, when you look at what's actually out there in the market for women, this is highly uncommon. Now, in this study for the men, they found that 8 participants out of 1,500, which is a decently small amount, pretty significantly small. But these things happened in those 8 participants, which was more than what they expected in the study. They also found that men had more acne, that they gained acne or they accumulated acne. And in women, in the marketplace where the pill is right now, birth control is used to fight acne, right? Also, what they found, which is huge, which is a huge number that people aren't talking about, is that 60% of the men in the study dealt with significant side effects. Now, that's huge. That's why they also had to drop the study, because the study is being looked at by basically a review board to make sure people aren't being violated. And in this instance, they came to the conclusion that these men are probably being violated in some sense, so we had to end the study. People also aren't recognizing that 75% of men continued to go forward with the study, which is a big number. Now, in any study, you're going to have people that fall out or that drop out because they don't want whatever side effects, but that's normal. Also, we have to recognize that we're comparing the women who are dissing men are comparing what's already on the market and decades worth of research for women birth control to only a couple years of research for men in a clinical study. So you can't compare what goes on in a clinical study to what's actually out there on the market for women and has had decades of research put into. They also did a recent study. They're looking at a different version of birth control, I guess. I don't know why they have to do this, but this article I'm going to share with you guys also mentioned that there was a risk of 10% of women having some sort of depression with this birth control, but only 2% of them actually experienced the actual adverse side effects. So that's much lower than what the study purported to be the case. In the case of this study for men, the risk was much higher. I mean, a 60% risk, actually not just the risk, but the actual side effects The to have 60% of side effects in any study is huge. So that's why they had to end that study. So I want to conclude this really quick to say that women are saying that this shows that they aren't cared for in these studies in these pills, but that's not the case because we have focused reproductive rights on women forever in this country. I mean, that's who we put to be responsible for contraception, especially birth control. We put it on the woman. So we actually have been focusing on women. So I think it's a bit unfair to say that women aren't the focus of this of birth control. So my thing is that I think this actually shows a bit of lack of empathy for men in this society. And because a few women experience bad side effects, um, they're okay, I guess, with men experiencing even worse side effects. That's a little unfair. How about we work on no side effects for anybody, or the fewer amount of side effects for everyone, as opposed to picking either or. Like, oh well, if women have to deal with some side effects, it's okay that men deal with a lot worse side effects. I think that that's the wrong way to go about this. And I'm thinking that, like, is this anger that I'm seeing from a lot of these women on this article, even even though there's a lot of articles out there now pointing to the facts behind this case, a lot of women are still ignoring that. And my thing is, like, is this because men are now having more access to birth control, and maybe this is making some women nervous, because now it's giving men more control of the birth control, of the birthing process, of the baby making process? I don't know. So that's where I want to leave that. I hope this kind of made some sense. I'm going to leave the article in the description for you guys to follow, and you guys continue to check me out. Thanks.